Yeah, so good morning. Today is for stretching. Hey, so like I said, no gym for about 7 days. I finished my 75 hard yesterday. That's my that's my fourth attempt on 75 hard. I've cancelled one, so three completed. So taking a break from the gym, and I'm like, I can't sit down there in the morning. That's the whole point of 75 hard, is to wire you to the point where by default you get to just do some things. So since I said okay, I woke up this morning, I started doing client work, although I tell myself I was going to relax today because it's a holiday. In as much as we have this grind mindset, sometimes you need those relaxation time to zoom out. And it's also part of productivity. Shit, my knees. Oh boy. So I didn't touch the ankle first. One, two, three, four, five. One, two, three, four. So knees then weight hips. Even if for 30 minutes, I think, to be very frank, before MMA, I barely stretched. I'm thinking of bringing back my whole active meditation routine, not the passive one. So the passive one is where I go on a walk, no earphones, just try to get my awareness to different parts of my body. Right. I think today is for what's consuming and basically knowing what I'm going to create this week. Um, I want to create as much long and short. But like I'm zooming out to see what I'm doing. So tomorrow I go to look at the content that has worked for me, because the content that has given me engagement is what I'm going to double down on. Right. And I feel like when people say they've cracked the algorithm, if you zoom out, the algorithms feel like one, two, three, four, five. So the algorithms feel like they work in accordance to nature. What that means is whatever nature wants you to put out there is what the algorithm would by default want you to put out there. What that tells you is the algorithms of social media cannot work outside of God's design. One thing I want to try out very soon is protein. A protein only diet for about a week first. If I survive the 1 week, I'll go into what do they call it? 30 days. Right. And basically what I'm after is I'm trying to prove a point that the Nigerian diet is a major cause of our problem in this country. It's not allowing anybody at any level to think. And our politicians think that they are they are void of such places. But saying no, you are the tool they used to put us here. So you two are involved. If you think because you have money to fly yourself out of the country, look at the bigger picture, right? So neck, four, five, six. I feel that's all the price of doing 75 hard. It's make you think, right? Because you don't have excess sugar, right? You don't have all those dopamine crashes that's not allowing you to think. It's giving you brain fog. So if I can focus on having like a proper protein based meal. Let me look at my state, mental health, mental clarity, and body. So looking at the glass now, I'm very grateful for the body I have built during the 75 hard, man. Because I saw this chart where it says chest is beauty, shoulder is, but it says abs is discipline. So now I'm using my abs as a benchmark, my level of discipline. And before I had to think having abs was vanity. But one thing I say that if you have never had it before, right? 'Cause I noticed that it's a subconscious defense mechanism to make yourself feel good when you don't have something. So to cool off of that, stop, start. It's really going to be a okay. So hey, so I just remember that my coffee is about to finish, and I told myself that so I don't become a coffee junkie. I am only going to I'm going to get coffee after 2 weeks or 30 days. Right. That's how I make sure that I'm not that's me checking out my caffeine reliance. So after that, it's more like stretch to split and see how far I was on 8 before, right? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So I guess I'm pretty late today. But let me just go ahead because the store is already open, so I'm late today. I guess we'll see at the office. Well, I have clients work to do, so clients work first before I relax. Hey, so something happened yesterday. My guy called me and my guy asked me, "Oh, bro, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Man, I'm trying to look for a movie to watch." And he says, "Wow, he's known me for about 12, 13 years now, and says that he has never heard me say such a thing." And I'm like, "Well, I can't kill myself." And this year, I think this mindset of grinding, it serves its purpose. But at some point, one should be able to zoom out before zooming back in. That's the whole idea of a proper balance to life. So when a sniper is zoomed in, he can't see anything outside the scope. So guess what? He himself is a target. So he needs a scout beside him, right? Now, if he's a lone sniper, he needs to be able to zoom in at the same time zoom out. So with his scope, he zooms in. With his binoculars, he's zoomed out. So it's something that I feel like, oh shit, my hips is definitely. I think I need more hip stretches, more hips opening up because I can see improvement in my kicks, but I often feel my hips cracking. So see you at the office. Okay, so what's up? Time is about 1 p.m. right now, and then I think I've been doing client work. I made progress about 2 hours ago. Then after my client work, I basically came back. So I'm almost done with the clients. I mean, for today, I came back to my study. So the first video I popped up was Hamza's secrets to running a successful YouTube channel. Because like I've said, I think this whole life coaching stuff seems to be the direction I'm going towards. And he says that for it to be better than 99% of the YouTubers, right? It's not referring to like vloggers or something. It's referring. He said that you need three things. One is to focus on the core, right? Leave the other things. So what is most important in every aspect, so regarding being a YouTuber, is making the videos. That means is there are like different levels to what's making your videos, right? There is making a video, right? So there are a lot of different activities, but the priority is making the video, scripting and shooting the video, right? Then you have thumbnails and titles, which obviously should have come before the making the video. But things like commenting on other people's posts are not so important, and you should completely skip them. And it makes sense. I always tell people to always put advice into context, right? It makes a lot of sense, right? Because YouTube is a very discoverable platform. So for the fact that it's discoverable, if you have a good title, a good thumbnail, and you give the right energy at the beginning of your video, you are most certainly guaranteed to get something amazing, right? Now, that makes a good amount of sense. The second thing, you have to live the life that you teach. I feel that is the angle that this guy, Gary Vaynerchuk, comes from, right? When he says document, don't create. When he says document, don't create, it doesn't mean, oh, I'm eating rice, I'm eating bread, come and see my bread, come and see my rice. No. When you look at it from someone like Dan Cole's approach, and he says, document your mind on the internet, and the world becomes your playground. What it basically means is, do the things that are authentic to you. What are you learning? What are you moving towards? So, for example, in Hamza's case, he's a self-improvement guy. He's actively living self-improvement kind of videos. So what that means is he's living the life. He's having coaching calls. He's bringing his points into the coaching calls, so into the YouTube content, and he's giving the people much more context, right? And when I was reading it, it made a lot of sense. That what that means is if you're not making a video, be living the life of the videos you make. Because there are people who talk about business, right? They may run a business quite alright, but after their YouTube video, they are not about business. They're not about mentoring. They're not about coaching. Because when you are talking to people, when you are coaching people, you are mentoring people, you got to realize that there's a thin line that begins to appear everywhere. So, for example, one thing, as I was talking to the people who I think have come to meet me for advice in recent times. And then sometimes I feel like turning those ideas or their problems into content, right? This is where everything becomes very, very interesting. I've been thinking of wanting to take all of those things and put them into content. But for some extent, I feel like I've been held back. So how am I being held back? So, for example, I have a couple of guys always on drugs. I won't say always on drugs, but basically on drugs. They take drugs, and that drug is basically like affecting their level of function. Hey, by the way, I think I ate jam donuts, right? And I feel like for that jam donuts I ate, I'm not going to eat anything. I want to try to not eat anything till tomorrow, right? Anything, just only water. I want to start getting into this idea of fasting. So he says, if you're a person on testosterone, go out there, do deep research on testosterone. So me, I'm looking at a situation where I'm life coaching men. So I'm doubling down on the problems that young men don't understand. So, for example, young men don't understand that their greatest enemy, right, young men, is their thinking. You see, men like to think, right? Quite all right. But their thinking is ultimately their biggest enemy. I tell people that the greatest blessing man has is his ability to think in most situations. His greatest curse comes from thinking the wrong way. So how does this work? I say men need to become dangerous. I literally wrote this thing down as content ideas because these ideas come from me. They don't come from research. And I say, hey, men need to become more dangerous. And by the way, this is coming from Jordan Peterson's advice. Why I break it down. And what do men need to become dangerous? And when men hear danger, what comes to their head? When men hear danger, what comes to their head is negativity, violence, havoc, wrecking evil. But what they don't realize is It is the man who is strong, who is aggressive, but has good intentions. Is a man who is decorated as a what? Maybe a soldier, a law enforcement officer. He is dangerous enough, right? But he's channeling his danger towards things that are more important. So what happens when a man is not dangerous, right? People who are more dangerous will get into positions of power and will begin to wreak the havoc he did not expect. Think about it. The most powerful countries are what? They are aggressive. That is why people say that the fall of US is a comfortable life. A life where people are less aggressive. Why? They are very comfortable. And that is where the downfall of man begins to happen, in comfort. I wrote another thing down is men should become narcissistic, right? But because people have labeled the word narcissistic to be this very bad thing, but hey, I'll tell you this. The person who is narcissistic is somebody who has realized that he needs to think of his own interest first before the interest of any other person. Super powerful. Because the whole world will take from you, right? They take from what you don't even have. And by the end of the day, you have yourself to blame. Look at it this way. You see people who, because of they're talking to a girl, right? Maybe in their late 20s. The girl now begins to pound that attention towards him. Now, he doesn't like the girl, right? Apart from scarcity mindset, though, he may have the abundance mindset. He doesn't like the girl, but the way the girl love bombs him, he's looking at green flags and red flags. In that red flags, he has some deal breakers. For example, me, I say if you can't cook, we aren't even having that conversation. Like, I'm sorry, I aren't even having the conversation. But because, oh, okay, she can't cook, you know what? But because of it's a deal breaker and he is not thinking about himself, he's thinking about the other person. Now, mind you, when I say think about yourself first, is in this relationship, what am I getting out of it? No, heck, I always tell people that win-win is the best situation. But you can only guarantee win-win after you have won. And you intend to make the other person win also, which is the best form of negotiation. But you have to win first. That's why it is called win-win. You win, I win, then you win. That's the best way of seeing it. But guess what? Because of most people's thinking is, thinking of myself is narcissistic, so I shouldn't think about myself. So guess what? They either end up creating win-lose or lose-win. So when you're narcissistic, right, with that good intention, the whole idea is, that's where the dichotomy of being good and bad is. If you can do, by the way, I'm also considering doing whiteboard videos. I think I'll get back to that very soon because whiteboard videos tend to be very, very, very powerful if framed properly. So I think my goal now is to help young men understand the lies that are being put in their head. When you're narcissistic, I say, you know what, this is what I want for myself. Right? That is, I'm not going to meet people and say, okay, this is what I want, come and be it. No, it is either you are it or you are not. Like literally, I was checking up with one of my female friends, like, and she said something, just like we crack joke about our relationship life and all that. She says, should she help me get a partner? I said, if you can, if you meet my criteria, no problem. I'll tell her my criteria and everything. Hold on. And then she says, what if the person doesn't have it? What if I have to train the person? I said, no. It's not my job to train the person. Because if the parents could not train the person, why should I train the person? It's like me wanting to change somebody from what they were not originally. It works in some cases, right? But that's not my business. I don't have time to train somebody. I want somebody who is already trained along what I want for myself. Do you see how it works? Because now I'm thinking about myself. In the same instance, I'm thinking of a win-win. What that means is, what I want for myself, she too also wants. She has seen the vision I'm painting, right? And she wants to be part of that vision. That's where the magic happens. Unlike most guys say, you know what? Let me pander towards her. And guess what? Women don't want that. The only women who want that are women who want to manipulate the men. And this is why I say, guys, navigating this entire relationship scene is very, very dangerous if you don't understand psychology. Because the human psychology is very, very interesting, right? So that's just an idea of what of content I've digressed. The third point has to do with you being intentional. So for a particular video, for a message you want to convey, how much intention would you put into your setting, into your dressing, into the environment? So for example, if you want to talk about fitness, it will make sense if you're making your video in a gym. If you're trying to build muscles, it will make sense if you're shirtless while making the video. If I talk about how I can be a life coach, why don't I make this video beside my bookshelf? So when someone sees my video with the bookshelf behind me of different books, filled the books, and I'm speaking with confidence, it will create this frame in his mind that I know what I'm doing. And most likely, I think I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. He will understand, even though I make pauses. Because the whole idea is, okay, he's picking up these skills, right? Okay, he has books around. Maybe I'm thinking of, that's why I said I want to create some whiteboard videos, right? Because whiteboard videos are very powerful. It shows that you're about to explain a concept to people, right? This is why maybe what that means is that I have to now take some ideas and look for how to make them much more visually appealing on the board for young men to understand. So my frame now is a whiteboard, a bookshelf, right? To show you that I'm very knowledgeable. I've read these books. I'm living these books. And by the way, I am even documenting my journey. See how it's making sense? So after that, I went into reading watching these videos these videos have been popping up recently about by Scott Galloway. Speaks about helping young men navigate life, right? And because I'm pairing everything up with Hamza's approach, right? So I'm thinking of what are the problems the young men are facing. And mind you, most of my contents that are very relatable, they are mostly problems that the young men face. Like one, for example, how all men have to fight, learn how to fight. Two, how masculinity feels like a mask, but you have to wear it. The third one is how young men can deal with lust. So I've seen that these things are problems that young men are beginning to identify. Okay, and those are my real performing videos. All other videos are titles that I got from, should I say, Sam Ovens, some titles that I would say, maybe my social media addiction video was also engaging. What that means is, now I'm interpreting what the world needs from me, right? So I'm looking at also breaking down Jordan Peterson's advice, which I think I also do and test. The other day is I'm in the stage of testing, right? Apart from that, my new content ideas moving forward will only be on the problems of young men and helping them to navigate those problems, right? Scott Galloway talks about how the young man is separated, he's lonely, he has nothing going on for him, therefore making him very, very dangerous. How is he dangerous? Because he has nothing to lose. And guess what? And I saw a research that says that the airports are running out of mechanics. You see, when people are talking about suicide rates, these guys are not realizing that suicide rates in men, those men are men who could have filled up, either they could have filled up or are currently filling up positions right now. So when a plane mechanic commits suicide, 3 plane mechanics commit suicide, now you're going to have a problem, because whether you like it or not, robots are not going to fix those planes at the given moment. By the time robots begin to fix planes, just they'll have bigger problems. Like what else? Plumbers are reducing. The whole idea is any field that men are holding right now, there are men who are losing population. A lot of men are giving up because they don't see the need to go to work. So I'm going somewhere. So when monogamy was invented, what happened? Why was monogamy invented? Because men were very violent. The man who has nothing to lose, it's easy for him to get violent, aggressive, and channel that aggression to people. But we said, you know what? Fine. Let's give these men partners. Let's socially enforce monogamy. Although I'll say it was a facade, because I always tell you that as a man, your aim should be the best you can be, right?
Obviously, you will never get there, but have an ideal you are working towards. The truth is that, or perfectly, Jordan Peterson says, climb the dominance hierarchy. That means is, how big are you in your own hierarchy? What can you claim to be very good at? So when you're climbing towards a hierarchy, you're much more attractive, right? Partners begin to see now, but the person who doesn't climb over a hierarchy and he says that, you know what, he's already demotivated before he starts to live life. Has a very big problem because nobody will take him serious. So the young man is frustrated. He's confused. He's being distracted with drugs, music, violence. Think about it. The only music that sells these days is drugs, sex, and violence, and maybe some shitty emotional trauma songs, which is even furthering the depression, right? And this is why so like Andrew Tate exists. I tell people that before you insult Andrew Tate in my front, just do one thing. Tell me the thing that he said that is a lie. The keyword there is a lie. They always say there are plenty, but show me one. I'm not saying that he's 100% truthful. One thing I'll say about Andrew Tate is he promised he'll never get into crypto. What did he do? He got into crypto. Now that's a grift. What that means is I'm not here to condemn Andrew Tate. I said that Andrew Tate plays a role, right? Even though he plays a role quite alright. So now I'm thinking of how to take his approach, because it's a very useful approach, right? It's a very useful approach, but in a way that it is done with that people can see the obvious intention. Because Scott Galloway pointed out something. He says that the moment you are seen to be wanting to help young men, automatically there is this rage against you. There's a rage against you, and what is this rage about? It's about you are a misogynist. And I think I want to have this frame that making men strong again, making men again, making men again, triple M is beneficial to women. Haven't you seen that the more weak men we have, the more single women we have also? Because that masculinity you kill in men transfers to the women. You see, when nature created things, right, it created a certain amount of masculine energy and feminine energy for creation to happen, for the world to exist. Guess what? We have flipped it around. You see, and removing masculinity in men only guarantees that you have weak men. In the process, you have dysfunctional women. I mean, not my words. I can't remember who said it, but you can Google it. So what that means is I have to look for a way to craft my content, right? Well, because every time I'll stop arguing with feminists, but each time I used to argue with them, because whether I like it or not, if you look at what they are saying, they're majorly just expressing some deep-rooted trauma. So I've completely avoided them, which even led me to this, because I was meditating one day, and one thought came to my head. It says, look for a feminist, right, that came from a home of a masculine father and a feminine mother, right? So parents, so I think the thought process goes like this: look for a feminist that has a masculine father, a feminine mother, right? That's the parents one. Two is healthy love between two of them, which is point two, and healthy love between parents to child. And I said, well, I don't know anyone yet. I will look for intentionally. I'm not trying to insult the feminist, but I will look for intentionally. But the whole point is, I have to make videos in a way that young men will see these videos and know that it's genuinely intended for these guys to get better, for these guys to become aggressive. Become aggressive, but still have your good intentions. Be capable of violence so you can have your true intentions. Because whether I like it or not, if any man is to reach his full potential, he has to be in touch with that dark side. Whether we like it or not, guys have to be able to kill chickens. Guys have to be able to kill animals. Right? It's aggressive, but think about it. Whatever you call good or bad is just society standards. And it's set in place for what? Sanity. But guess what? Most people drown in it. But if I can find a way to tap into their vanity source, right? Into their vanity source. One thing I can guarantee is that it's a way of motivating them. So I tell people that someone like Andrew Tate started it, but what happened? He took it too far. He began to focus on applying what is called shock value. So he says things that are outlandish. Just to get people's attention. It's like you're talking for like 30 minutes and you say something very stupid. The brain will pick up that thing you said that is very outlandish. So that what? It's going to meditate on it. So I'm not saying this over and over again because I'm looking for like a proper approach to it, and with a whiteboard frames it to be somebody who knows what he's talking about, right? You're not somebody who is a grifter, and again, you're writing, you're wiping the board, you're confident, you have books behind you. It just completely sets the game completely. It changes the game, the dynamics. So what happens is, I made some videos here on this table. I want to change my video making skills to what? A whiteboard. So we're going to you keep getting different versions of me, right? Different versions. So like I said, I'm trying to find my voice in this space. All I want to do is generally take concepts, explain it to men. So as a man, you have to be in touch with that dark side, right? Provided you have good intentions, right? Everything will fall in your place. Everything will fall to your place. If you're a masculine man, right? If you're a masculine man for the sake of lifting up yourself, you are working on your purpose. Trust me, women will not be your problem. You have a problem. You will have a problem qualifying the women, because this time around, quantity is no longer your problem. I always tell people that people say things like, "Oh, I doing it for them." No, see this way as this is nature's way of rewarding you for thank you for the job well done. Thank you for the job well done. So it's going to involve you having to do some. It's going to involve men having to do some programming. But like I said, because their thinking is the greatest enemy that they have right now. If I can begin to put them on that direction, on that path, where they are what? Gentlemen. They are confident. They have self-control. They are stoic. They have good intentions. They think for themselves, right? Because they think for themselves. Then I can create something that's really, really meaningful. So hopefully I take what I've learned, because I feel like making this video about what I've learned is making me recall some things and making me see some nuances in what I'm talking about. So it's basically I'm even considering bringing back this journaling stuff. So because when I journal, I see conversations I have with people. I see perspectives that I have with people, and I feel like bringing them into content, right? Because I have stories in my head I think I want to say out, right? So, well, let's see how it goes. Well, right now, what I want to do is I want to read this book by Danko, read a couple of pages, then maybe break it down as usual, and then let's see how it goes. So, I'll see you very soon.
Yo, also, just finished watching Danko's. No, not watching. I just read part of Danko's book, the one regarding purpose and profit. I like the way Danko takes the approach of this from like a much more philosophical angle. Danko says something like he can't tell you what to do, right? Because everybody has a unique set of problems, dreams, and everything. But he will give you like a nuanced approach, a new approach towards seeing this whole thing of entrepreneurship. First of all, it starts with talking about profit. That a lot of people see money as a thing to be avoided. You see, all these things come from our subconscious programming. When people talk about how things are good or bad, and I always tell people that it's the way sometimes you can trick the brain towards. So a lot of the times when we take information as small kids, rather, because we don't have what it takes to attack or to defend that point, we'll end up taking up things that don't make sense. So, for example, is money. When people have this idea that money is evil, because of this idea that the root of all evil, love of money is the root of all evil. What that phrase meant is loving money for the sake of money is evil, right? But you have to realize that
Money itself is a lifeblood of society. Without money, people can't really exchange, and when people can't exchange, it's very hard to function. So what that means is take out money from the equation, because if you know what money is just simply what you've given in terms of value and what you've received back. So when you see that nobody's really giving anything, right? And there's no transaction, then all of a sudden the global economy dies, the societal economy dies. So money is good. Money helps function, right? And you should get the idea that that phrase says love of for the love of money. Hey, by the way, I kind of realized that I have not yet sorted out my content for a while now. I have just been recording for recording sake, so I need to like sort out content. So you have to be on me on that. So where was I? Yeah, it talks about a job. Why a job is for like survival. It's not what you just do at the moment because you want to just survive, learn something. Jobs are supposed to be seen as stepping stones. What happens is some people get into jobs. They like the predictability of a job. They don't see themselves ever expanding. Then there's a career. A career is simply just a path where one can advance, right? What that means is sometimes a career is like a self-imposed goal, but a job you're working on somebody else's goal. Next one now is a calling. This is where you are drawn towards something, right? This is where you are following your own passions, your own interests. You feel like there's something deeper than it's something much more self-fulfilling in terms of a calling. So you have a job, a career, a calling. I like the way he talks about how to see entrepreneurship versus employment. Entrepreneurship is just you solving your own problem, right? Your own problem and helping other people to solve their own problem. You see how it makes sense? And it makes a lot of sense because sometimes I ask myself things like, what can I really sell for to make money online? Then I remember the fact that I have solved problems for myself that other people have. Like for example, is I learned how to work out in 45 minutes. I have a very good body, right? I've learned how to I've learned how to get good in the bedroom, and this is something that most people are kind of afraid of. They have anxiety around sex, and they want to last longer. So what happens is they end up going for quick solutions. But if one adopts my philosophy of meditation and cardio, gets you halfway through the door. The other half is things like meditation will help you. Which meditation will help you is when you're with a woman, you're present in the moment. You're seeing what works and what doesn't work. I was also in a situation where I can teach tech people how to sell their skills, because selling your skills as a freelancer is a completely different ball game than being a tech bro. And I'm saying this word because I have history in tech. I have freelance. I have sold for people. I've helped people to sell. Right, I'll always help you sell, and then maybe I'll jump on a meeting, make you feel like we're experts in the game, and you pay me a commission. At the same time, how much do people charge? Basically, break down that whole freelancing stuff for them. And this is usually be very good if I have like an audience, right? And then I was looking at I have a very good audience of men. If I can sell put on a good price, I can sell to maybe 10,000 Nigerians. Very very possible. But starting those in the tech scene already, because the tech community is already dying. So if it is already dying, what that means the way forward is you have to become a high agency, which is where I'm going to. When Danko talks about employee versus entrepreneur, right? He says an employee most of the time is a low agency person. So what does it really mean to be low agency? Is I'm not too sure if I'm getting this correct, but I get the concept, and this is the concept. A low agency person is just somebody who is narrowly minded, right? A high agency person is somebody who can fit into different buckets, right? And somebody who has a high level of thinking can solve higher level problems. So what happens is someone who is low level says, you know what, I'm an accountant, or I am a security guard, so this is everything. A high agency person says, okay, you know what, I see how the accounting, how the marketing ties together. So the higher you go the higher you go maybe in an organization, the higher level of agency you need, right? Because you can pull up different skills. It's like you starting a business and you have to adopt multiple skill sets for that business. So that's about that. It's telling people how you should see entrepreneurship as a state of mind rather than a thing a state of mind because apparently identities sort of start with some states. What that means is that people who are depressed, who have the identity of somebody who is depressed, they often start with the state of depression, right? And over time, they begin to adopt the identity. So it's like, okay, being an entrepreneur is a state of mind that makes you want to have a high level of agency. So see yourself because you can be working in a company, right? You can be working in a job, you can have a job and still have a high level of agency. What you're saying is solve your own problem, figure out something for yourself, and try to give other people the solution. You see how it's all making sense? So and this is why I started things like this because I notice that whenever sometimes I take content like this, I study them. It's all like leaves my head, but whenever I come back and I revisit them, like I'm explaining them to the camera, it then gives me this nice approach towards everything, and that's why I speak to the camera. Maybe someday I have guys clip up this part and have content that is what's that word? Have content that's worth it basically. That's it's easy to clip up. I'm gonna say a couple of deep stuff here and hey, that's why I enjoy it. Let me see. So right now, let me just go ahead and sort of like sort out because I've shot content like 3 different sets. I've not yet put them into their right folder. So let me go ahead and put them into the right folders. Then I can let me see what's the next step. After that, I will brainstorm the content, the idea. Not really brainstorm per se because I'll just look at the content and I need to shoot tomorrow, get ready for them, then retire for the day. Basically, like scroll social media. So I want to keep my retirement for the day light. Basically, I want to stop this whole idea of grind. I want to give room for rest. What I mean rest is active rest. So people assume resting is more like scrolling on social media. No, active rest is when you are not engaging your mind in thinking, calculating, synthesizing. Active rest, you are just being yourself, relaxing. You can even be watching like a movie because I think that not be bad. Basically, shall work though tomorrow is a holiday or work resumes tomorrow. I really wish I traveled with that guy, but since I did not travel, I have no that choice. So yeah, see you soon. Maybe I may come back today, but so forgive me, the audio right now might be messed up, but there's something that he said that I think I forgot to mention that the book is called Purpose to Profit, right? And it's like first of all, it started with the idea that money is not bad, right? Is that most people get money and money to them is just for survival. They survive and that is all. But when you merge your purpose and profits, when you are able to take in your when you're working on your calling, something that is deeper, it's deeply rooted into you, and you try to make profit of it. That is when magic begins to happen. So I know obviously the audio now will be shitty, but that's the core of it. That you figure out how you can use your calling, monetize your interest, your curiosity, and I'm seeing myself as somebody who is helping a lot of young men navigate the modern world, right? That's why this is basically invented. So it's like I follow my interest and I put my message out there. I am sharing my interest. That is a purpose itself. It's a calling, right? At the same time, being very, very smart enough and creative enough to monetize it, right? So that is monetize your calling, basically, because people have this calling that they want to do in their life, but because of money is important. They end up with this idea that let me go ahead and try something, right? Let me go ahead and do something different. Maybe get a job. And that itself, that is one message I got from the Alchemist book, that if you have a dream, the fastest and quickest route to any situation is a straight line. Go straight to that. To be very honest, I actually think start something now so you can fund this. That's not really the way it really works, because when you have this idea that start this, keep it aside. You keep it aside, then come back. Most people never get back. Most people don't come back. They get stuck there. So in the same way, I have a story of one of my friends whose friend opened a hotel. Oh no, multiple hotels. He says that this guy is an orphan, and in his story, he started with what? Managing a hotel. From a manager, he was able to operate a hotel. What that means is get into a managerial list, and before you know it, we began to make friends, borrow money here, borrow money there, build more hotels, and then so the whole idea is obviously you could not start the hotel on the first attempt, right? On the first when you were small, but the whole idea is if you can be in a position or in a business or in a job, right, that you can see as a stepping stone to that dream, then you can work towards it. Does it make sense now? The whole idea is never let the goal diminish, never let the goal die out. So what that means is, in that case, it will be better for you to focus to follow that calling and still yet be able to profit from it, and that is where true magic begins to happen, right? So yeah, let me go and review the content and organize everything. Maybe I will take up a couple of videos, prepare for content, watch a video about young men, because like I said, I look at a concept that young men don't really understand, and maybe because of having to break down concept for young men, I have to create maybe reaction videos. So that means is I hear a point from say Andrew Tate, right, and I'm basically helping people to understand what Andrew Tate means and how does that thing help young boys. Because it's one thing to, I've noticed that a lot of young boys, a lot of people are shying away from the red pill space because a lot of people here have come with bad intentions. But I say if I help you to break down the whole idea of red pill is for you to understand female dynamics, gender dynamics, so you can navigate the dating world with ease. There are reasons that someone like Ronaldo is not married yet, but yet him and his partner stay together. Well, it's better than being divorced, because most people are in marriages with the ring and still living a shitty life. I don't think some of them are living that way. If you look at the way she talks about him, well, that's a thing for another day. It's a thing that I read about in 48 Laws of Power, but let's not discuss about it. But you keep seeing how one can monetize his purpose. Let me see, I think I may have digressed a little bit. Yeah, just basically breaking down concept for people, why guys should aim to be powerful, because the more power you can accumulate, obviously, and that's the honest truth, the more power you can accumulate, the more changes you can effect, the more changes you can effect, the more uncomfortable truth, the more people you can save. But that means if you feel like people are threatened, if you become powerful, and sometimes it may not even require power of controlling people. It could just be power of charisma. You may just have that leadership power where you speak, this motivational power where you speak and people listen to you. You may not hold a political position. It may just be a religious position, and that power helps you to do what? Get things done. So power is not a thing that should be seen as bad or good, but a thing that helps you achieve some things. And sometimes, I know absolute power corrupts, but hey, the game is the game. If you see yourself reacting to people or reacting to things, and you feel like power is bad, so therefore you will never accumulate power, then go ahead, beat yourself up. But yep, that's it. Learning for concepts that young men don't understand, break it down for them. Think of some whiteboard videos. Test out whiteboard videos. How are whiteboard videos doing? Because I think I have a whiteboard, and I always say something that you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. Why I bought a board, to me, I still can't remember why. One thing I know for sure is that everything adds up in the very end. So yep, it's a personal faith that I have. So I don't know how I made this video without a mic or anything, but yeah, later, talk to you soon.